Welcome back to another episode of According to Annie. Hello, Queen. How are you? So good to be dropping on in with you on this beautiful day, wherever you are calling from in this world. It's so good to hear from you. So let's delve straight into it. So this is part 3 of my ayahuasca ceremony. And the experience and the retreat that I went on. So if you haven't yet listened to the other episodes, I highly recommend that you go and have a listen to those episodes first, because each ceremony stacks on top of each other and it creates a beautiful picture, and it all comes together like a beautiful puzzle. So yeah, if you feel called to, I would do that. If you just want to listen, also okay too, like whatever feels good for you, babe. So sitting in my last ceremony, I was like, all right, ceremony 3 was a lot, and I really struggled even the next day to recover. I was still feeling the effects of the medicine, even like the next day. So it was a lot. And if you've listened to ceremony 3, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about here. So it was definitely intense and it was a lot. And I needed to nap quite a fair bit through the next day because my body was still healing energetically. My body was still healing. Like it was so much for it to go through. I was feeling sick still. I was really struggling. And then I even contemplated not sitting or not partaking with the medicine on the last ceremony, just because I was like, I just can't, like, I'm so exhausted. There's so much that was uncovered that I just don't know if I can do it. But I thought I'll just see how I feel. And when the night came, I was like, you know what, like, it's all about your intention, Annie. Set your intention and you'll be fine. So my intention was for her to show me the divine mother within me and to fill me with love. That was what my intention was for this ceremony. And in my mind, I was like, that'll be beautiful. That'll be nice. We'll wrap it all up. We'll put a big bow on it and we'll head out, finishing this retreat with so much love, and it'll be amazing. Well, ayahuasca gives you what you need, not what you want. And so I really thought that this would give me a gentle approach, but she gave me the complete opposite. And what was really interesting in this one is, so she actually showed me a situation with my mum. And so I haven't had an adult relationship. I haven't had a relationship with my mum since I've been an adult. And so I do have a lot of like unanswered questions, but it's okay. I'm probably never going to get those answers. But when my mum was growing up, she lost a sister. So her name was Crystal, and she died at birth. So when my nan was giving birth to her, she didn't survive. And that's all I really know. I don't really know anything else about it, because it was never talked about. Like, we never talked about it. And obviously, like, I was a kid as well, and I left when I was 18. So it was probably not appropriate to have conversations. I mean, Crystal was talked about as in, like, Crystal would have turned X amount of days today, or, there was definitely like talked about that she had, my mum had a sister that passed away at birth. There was complications, and apparently it could have easily been avoided, but the doctor had fucked up and done something wrong. Like I said, I don't really know. But in this ceremony, she showed me an image of like how deep that wound was for my mum, which was really interesting, because there's a part of me that struggles to understand the situation with my mum. I know that the religion is very important to her, and I know that not following the way that the church is, and the church ways, would be very detrimental to her being saved at Armageddon. And so she wouldn't want to do anything wrong in the eyes of God. So I understand from that perspective as to why she doesn't have a relationship with me, but it definitely really made me hold maybe a little bit more compassion towards my mum, because I kind of now, from seeing it from an adult's perspective and going through all my trauma and all my healing that I've done and my wounds, I do wonder like what impact that has had on her from losing a sister and not being able to have the tools and the modalities and, you know, the things that we now have nowadays to be able to work through that. And so it did make me question, like, is that a part of, you know, why she's the way that she is today, because of that trauma that actually went on. So that was really interesting that I got to see like how much of a wound that was for my mum, even though it was never really talked about. So that was really interesting. And then there was a lot of vomiting and a lot of purging that was happening through this ceremony as well. But there was nothing that was really specific in what was being uncovered. It was almost just like whatever was the last remnants that needed to be released, like was being released, but it was still very intense. I was still having hot sweats. I was still vomiting profusely. You know, I was still purging quite a fair bit. And there was a stage throughout it where I remember laying on the bed in a moment where I was not vomiting, and it was like my body was decomposing, and I could feel myself like almost like decomposing and going back into Mother Earth, really. And I could feel ants like crawling all over my body, and I was so itchy because like it's all happening obviously in your mind and like psychedelically with the DMT, but like it feels very real. And so I had like all of these ants like crawling all over my body, and I knew I've done enough work around like deaths and ego deaths and being reborn. And so whilst, you know, this incredible feeling was going on, I also knew that I was experiencing probably a very big death and was about to be reborn. And that was the symbolizing of my body decomposing and going back into Mother Earth so that I literally could be reborn from that place. So that was really interesting. And then I kept hearing this noise, like this, like, I don't know what it was. It was like an instrument blowing noise. And it was like I could hear the instrument going across my eyes, and I could hear like the sound waves essentially going from my right hand side across to my left hand side, and then it would come back. And I actually asked the girls the next day, I was like, did anybody hear that like blowing trumpet noise? And no one could hear it. It was obviously just what I needed to hear in my ceremony. I don't really know what that was about, but I kept hearing that. And then we got to like the end of the ceremony, and usually by this stage you're pretty much done. You're pretty much ready to either like get up and head to your room, or you're ready to just sleep and rest it off. Like the actual medicine itself, the journeying itself, you know, by the time the ceremony's finished, most of the time you're finished your journey. But the ceremony was finished, the Ekros was done, and people were starting to like pack up and go to their rooms. And here is good old Annie going through a second batch of purging. And so I am again profusely vomiting. I am like, what is going on? Like, I asked you to show me the Divine Mother and fill me with love. Why am I still purging? Like, normally by this stage of the ceremony, everyone's done. And I felt like I was getting a second wind and was back into it again. And the facilitator came over to me and she was like, you know, I really think that you're very deep still in journeying, and I would highly recommend that you don't go to your room. And I was like, there's no way I could even walk to my room right now. I could barely walk anywhere on my own. And she was like, I'll get some rosehip oil and we'll put that over you, some rose water, and we'll put that over you. And so she came back over and like doused me with some of this rose water. And she's like, you're just going to have to let this process take place. There's not much we can do. Like, I know the ceremony's like all finished, but you're still very much in it. So just let it take its process. And I was like, okay. And I was so cold. I was shivering. And so she grabbed me an extra blanket, and everybody was either in their process, like processing and healing, sleeping, or had left. And so what I felt like this ceremony was teaching me, because I felt very alone. The shamans had left, you know, I felt, even though there was people in the room, they were sleeping. I felt very alone in that space. And it felt a little scary, to be honest. I felt scared because I was like, well, no one's here. Like even the facilitators had left. They have like a walkie-talkie. They have like security guards walking around and stuff like that if you need help. But in the actual Maloka, like the facilitators had left, the shamans had left, like, and so there was a part of me that was like, what if I don't get better? Like, what if I need help? Like, there's no one here to help me. And it was bringing up all of my fears and my abandonment wounds as well around this entire situation. And so then I was like, oh my gosh, like how am I? And I had to navigate it on my own. And I felt like the biggest lesson that I got out of this ceremony was, if we think back to what my intention was, it was to show me the divine mother within me and to fill me with love. So naturally, she was going to put me in a position where I had to learn how to love myself during the most hardest times. And while I was going through these trials and tribulations, and how much could I actually trust and surrender to the entire process that was unfolding, and love myself and nurture myself and care for myself at the same time. So I essentially got what I asked for. I essentially got the intention set and delivered, because it was again showing me once again how strong and capable I really was of being able to have the capability to look after myself and to stop relying on everybody else to save me. The truth is that I can only save myself at the end of the day. And so that was a beautiful reflection, whilst I was like, why am I going through all of this stuff again? Like, I wanted to wrap it up and put a bloody big pink bow on it and be like, well done, healing journey finished. And I didn't get that. I did not get that. And even like the girls, you know, the next day were saying like, oh my gosh, you were still like, you went for a second batch. Like, I'm like, I know, like, I can't believe it. Like, nobody else had done that through the entire ceremonies that we had sat. Most people were done as soon as ceremony was done, but not me. I was still going through it. So, you know, I feel like that was a really big part of my message was, you know, first of all, being able to ask for help when I need it. And then also being able to learn that I have the capability to look after myself and to love myself. And I don't have to worry about someone else being there and doing it for me. I have that capability of being able to nurture myself through the process, because I have all of the tools. I have all of the modalities. I've been to the darkest of my soul and healed so many things that I actually do have the capability to be able to help myself at any given point. The help is just an added help. So that was my ceremony, last ceremony, that was really profound as well. And so now can you see how from ceremony one, where you're like, none of this makes sense, but when you trust in the process and you trust and surrender to it, everything does unfold exactly as it's supposed to. It's just that we want to try and be in control of it. And when we choose to trust and surrender, it actually unfolds way better than we ever could have imagined. And that is why I have tattooed on me, trust and surrender. So confiar rendirez in Spanish on my left-hand side, which is my feminine side of my collarbone, to remind me of how much I can have my eyes opened when I choose to trust and surrender. And, you know, you can't trust without surrendering. and you can't surrender without trusting. So they go hand in hand together. And I'm so grateful that I had that tattooed on me in Costa Rica, and just as a beautiful reminder. And it actually serves not only me, but it serves so many other people as well, by having that tattoo on my shoulder to remind me how capable and strong I am. So my biggest reflections that I just want to share with you that are in my journal as well is that, you know, this retreat brought up so many emotions, so many feelings, new levels of awareness, new levels of expansion, new levels of healing, and new sisterhood that was created as well, just in such a vulnerable space. And even still to this day, like, I do struggle to put it into words what actually did unfold, but I just know that it was a huge catalyst in my journey for truly accepting myself for who I am as a woman in this lifetime right now. And I would say that this retreat was not a retreat. It was not an experience, but it was a ceremony of initiations of multiple deaths and being reborn time and time again into your highest self. And I never knew how strong or how capable I was. I never fully understood how separate I am from my body. And I never felt a sense of belonging at the exact same time of being completely disconnected from my mind and body. And it has shown me and made me really think about who and what I want to be and how I want to show up as a woman, as a leader, as a friend, as a lover, but mostly for myself. And so they were like some of my biggest reflections of my entire initiation. It was so profound. And if you feel that call, then listen to that call and go through with it. And if you don't feel ready yet, that's also okay too. Yeah. Trust your timing. Trust your timing. You will know. I promise you, you will know when you're ready. I have some of my sisters that I sat with in ceremony that have either partaken again or are feeling the call to partake again. And I don't feel that. I don't feel the call to partake in sitting with ayahuasca again. I'm sure I will in the future, but yeah, I don't feel that call right now. And so I just really encourage you to also tune in and feel what feels good for you. But yeah, I feel like you've been able to learn a lot about my journey, and I'm honored to share it with you. So thank you for holding the space with me to unpack and share my reflections. And part of that journey, it was a huge part of my healing journey and a huge part in my expansion. And I truly am honored, and I have so much gratitude for the medicine, for what it's capable of doing, and for what it showed me, and for the new profound love that I have for myself. And really like learning that we don't always get what we want, but we actually get exactly what we need. And that was a really big lesson that I got out of that, because I went in with the expectation of what I was going to heal, and I got the complete opposite of what I actually thought I was going to get. I thought that I had done so much of that healing work around my body, but it turns out that I needed to do a little more. So I hope that this has landed like so beautifully for you. And I hope you've really enjoyed hearing my journey. You know, I always want to come from a beautiful place of being vulnerable and sharing with you that I am walking this path with you. And so if it has landed, like, please come and let me know that you've listened to these episodes, because yeah, I'd love to hear if this is, you want to hear more of like the inner works that I've worked through and that I've gone on, I'm more than happy to share that. So come and let me know that. But if you are interested in doing this type of work, like I've shared in the previous episodes, this is the type of work that we do in Evolve. We do a lot more deeper work around healing and transformational stuff and spirituality. So if you're a salon owner, that would be how you can tap into that world with me. If you're not a salon owner and you're listening to this episode, then Flow would be the other container that I would encourage you to consider. It's not currently open at the moment, but if you are interested in it, you can fill out the application form in the show notes. And, you know, as soon as I open up a round, it's for a very small, intimate group. It's for a maximum of 5 women, because it's really important that you are seen and heard when we're unpacking, you know, that beautiful, beautiful stuff that we get to unpack, so that we can let go of the shackles that society has on us as women, as mums, as leaders, and really step into our most true, authentic self and do it completely unapologetically. I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that you have a beautiful day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.